What's up YouTube? Today we are going to have a tier list video about a Master Duel meta, which decks are the best, which deck are good, which deck are okay, and which decks are kind of bad. Okay, let's start. I would say we start off with Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes is kind of weird. Either you have everything or you have two Blue Eyes and one Jet Dragon in your hand and nothing else. So you pass on nothing and you lose. Or you have two Whalers, two normal summon, and so on and so on. And you put your whole board and you win the game. So it's really inconsistent. So I would put this deck on the first deck in tier 3. It's an okay deck. You can play it. But if you want to play in high-level competitive tournaments, it's probably not a good idea to play Blue Eyes. The next is Pure Mitsurugi. Pure version of the Mitsurugi. It's a very strong deck. You can put a whole bunch of interruption. There is the counter trap, and you have plenty of hand trap you can play. Dominus Impulse, very strong card. So it's a very good deck. In my opinion, this deck cannot still compete with top tier decks that we'll be going to discuss about in a minute. So it's way better than decks like Blue Eyes. So I would put it in a tier 2 category or section for this video. So Pure Mitsurugi, tier 2 is actually very fine. The next one we have Gem Knight. In my opinion, it's actually a good deck, but it's kinda the worst version of the Tempai Dragon. Even if the Tempai Dragon had some serious hits because of ban list, but it's still a good surprise factor when you're playing against this deck, because they can just OTK you with only one card. But the problem is that if you play this deck in a tournament that you cannot change deck, people are going to send you first, so it's pretty hard to compete with top tier decks. So it's also kind of the same level for me like Blue Eyes. So I would put this deck also in a tier 3 deck section. The next one we have Branded. It's tough. I mean, there is some very good Branded players that I know, that I saw playing and make this deck looks broken, but at the end of the day, that's only maybe 2 or 3 people, and the majority of the people playing this deck, they cannot perform as good as those people. Hard to say, but it's a trash deck in this current format of the Master Duel. So it's the first deck that I recommend you not to play. The power is not as good as the top tier deck, and number 2, it's a very hard deck to master. Either you play it perfectly or you don't need to play it, because this deck punish you very hard for your misplays. That's the first deck in our trash section, Branded. So next deck we have Maliss. So what should I say? Maliss got some hits. Somehow it doesn't change anything about this deck at all. So this deck is still the best deck in the format. I mean, okay, Dormouse is at 1, Field Space at 1, but you have still plenty of options to get into your engine. You can also play Silent Mining, for example, and so on and so on. So that deck didn't suffer that much as Konami probably expected by the ban list that they released. This deck is still the best deck, so I will put Maliss in tier 1 section. The next one is Archist. Pretty good deck, to be honest, because of Mitsurugi and Mitsurugi Raziel and so on. Many people don't play any Lanceyame in their deck or in their main deck. This deck also is like kind of like Maliss. They lose to a Lancea, so they have pretty good time now that people don't play Lancea that much anymore. I would put this deck something near Mitsurugi Pure Mitsurugi. So it's the second deck on the tier 2 list or tier 2 section. The next deck is Fiendsmith Control. Fiendsmith Control is somehow the same category as Blue Eyes and Gem Knight. It's a good deck, but that's not that strong compared to something like Maliss or Mitsurugi, Arcus, and so on. So this deck is also not a trash deck. It's way better than something like Branded and the other trash deck that we are going to talk about. So I would put it near Blue Eyes on tier 3. So that should be a good spot for this deck. The next one is Snake Eye Fire King. It's an okay deck, but as long as original Sinful Spoil is still banned, what is very important to discuss should be stay banned. That makes this deck, in my opinion, a trash deck. There's not that much option to bridge into each other, so that makes things a little bit harder. The next deck that we have, Tenpai Striker. Tenpai Striker is kind of weird. It's actually damn overpowered somehow, because you are drawing so much card until you got your engine or your board breaker that you need to break the board of your opponent and go for the OTK. The big problem is now that Droll is playing everywhere. Once you get Drolled with this deck, you can do literally somehow nothing anymore. You need your draws, you need your engages to resolve, you need to get your engine going on, you need to get the cards that you need to find to break the boards, and Tenpai cards also add, so that makes things very, very hard for Tenpai Striker. Even it's one of my most favorite deck in Master Duel. So I need to put it in also in tier 3 section near Gem Knight. So both decks are going second, blind going second deck. And the fact that your opponent can send you first and you're losing anyways. Well, the next one is Ryziel, pure Ryziel. The problem is, why you need to play pure Ryziel when you can play Ryziel Mitsurugi, for example? The fact that Master Duel Sid don't have rank 4 XYZ to reborn something like Detonator and so on makes this deck way, way, way worse. So I would put it also in the trash category near the other decks that we talk about. The next deck is Ryziel Mitsurugi. Ryziel Mitsurugi is the only deck that can compete to Maliss. So it's just our second tier 1 deck that we have in this list. You can bridge into everything. If you have Ryziel, you can bridge into Mitsurugi because of the rank 4 monster. Or if you have Mitsurugi, you can bridge into Ryziel because you can put 2 rank 4 monster on the field and just go into dual drive and use and find your stuff for Ryziel and put everything like Cross, Detonator, Habakiri, and so on and so on. So kind of unbeatable. That's why I told there is no reason to play pure when you can play Ryziel Mitsurugi. So that's the second deck in tier 1 section. We have 2 more decks left. One is Centurion. Centurion is obviously a trash deck. You don't need to talk about it that much. It was an okay deck before. It's now trash. And the last deck is a Mitsurugi Arcus. Also a very, very interesting deck. Also is a very strong deck. If it's going first and do its thing, put 2 Omni Negate. One of them is the trap from Mitsurugi. The other one is the Arcus trap. And plenty of other disruption, destruction, and so on and so on, but still not as good as Maliss and Ryziel Mitsurugi. But I will put it in the tier 2 near Arcus and Mitsurugi pure, because this deck is still very, very good. Well, as you see, 3 of 5 decks in tier 1 and tier 2 containing Mitsurugi, one of the best engine that we ever had in Yu-Gi-Oh! And also in TCG, you see everywhere people playing Mitsurugi, Mitsurugi Yami, Mitsurugi K9, and so on and so on and so on. So maybe the next ban list would be something like hitting one of the Mitsurugi cards, or Habakiri, or Prayas, or something like this. We need to wait and see what's going to happen. So that's it for the video. You can write down the comments and tell me your opinion about this list. Is there anything else you would put in a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, or is there any other deck that you would say, no, it's not belong there, it should be somewhere else, and so on. And thank you very much for watching. Consider to subscribe, like this video, and see you next. Peace.